Hello and welcome to Rolling with Your Special Friends podcast. Today we have an amazing lady to come hang out with today. She's very special. She's a basketball star, a waitress, a zoo worker, a fishing woman, a hunter, just so many other amazing things that I just can't tell you all of them. So I'm going to let her tell you her story today. Thank you for coming on and talking to us today, Lindsay. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
That is great. That is very great. So tell us how today was. What'd you do today?
Um, m- I had to sleep in until 8, I went to San Francisco at 9, and we did our presentations, and then also at Sanford, we played a bocce ball.
Wow, now that's pretty cool. What's Bocce Ball?
It is a fun game because we have it at home. Our next door neighbors have the game, and and the white ball is a jack, and see how far you have to throw the ball, and the person who's closest gets a point.
Wow. Well, I might have to try that one then someday. Tell me what's your favorite food, Lindsay?
Oh, easy. I like pickles and chicken fingers and a Jack's ice cream.
Jack's ice cream. Now, what about Mexican?
And Mexican chips and dip.
That's number one, isn't it?
It sure is number one.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, tell me what some of your favorite things to do are.
Oh, I like to play basketball
Uh-huh.
and going to Mardi Gras
Okay.
and 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 also playing baseball in the Miracle League
What about going fishing?
and fishing and hunting.
Now that sounds like a full list of activities there. So what's the favorite one of that group?
I like them all.
Like them all. Okay, all equally. So tell me, you said something about ice cream. Tell me what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
I like s'mores because I'm a big fan of s'mores because we have this Greek yogurt you have to flip and my favorite is the s'mores and sometimes I have it in my lunch and then I can eat it as a snack and sometimes when I go to one of my show choir friends' house we made it s'mores.
Well, that's pretty cool. I may have to come see those friends too, so we can make s'mores. That'd be pretty awesome. So tell me,
Easy.
you said something about liking to play basketball. Tell me about playing basketball. Did you get to play in high school?
Well, it was my basketball coach's idea if I go in the game for the first time at Spain Park.
What did you do for your basketball team in high school?
In high school,
Were you a player? What would you do for your basketball team?
I was the manager
The manager.
for
Okay.
basketball.
Wow. Was that pretty fun being the manager?
It really was. It's fun being the manager because I was the manager for the varsity girls volleyball, basketball, and softball teams in high school, and I've been doing it in seventh grade for 6 years.
Goodness, you've been busy then.
I have, and I get manager of the year every single time.
Wow, now that takes something special to get manager of the year. I'm just so glad to know somebody like you. How cool is that?
It's awesome because at the volleyball banquet, I got a game ball from my volleyball coach, and in basketball, I get manager of the year, and then we went to one of our friend's house to have a softball party, and I got manager of the year there.
Oh my goodness. So tell me, I heard that you're working right now. Where do you work? Like what kind of job do you do? Are you a work at the zoo, I think?
I sure do work at the zoo because it's fun. Because my favorite animal is a jaguar. Because I have it on my pop socket, and then as my home screen on my phone, and um, he's he's my biggest fan because I have a Jaguar shirt and a Jaguar sweater, and I know facts about him, and and the hippo's name is Tadpole, and one of the elephant's name is Bowaki, and 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 the jaguar's name is Khan, and one of the giraffes' name is Willow.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now, so I know you do the zoo also, but I heard one time that you used to be a waitress too. Tell me about that.
Oh, it's awesome. My favorite job was to vacuum because I'm really good at vacuuming because vacuuming takes a lot of skills and practice this and then at California Pizza Kitchen, and my favorite job there was leading people to their tables and cleaning the menus and wrapping silverware. But we learned how to wrap silverware at Sanford.
Wow. Now that's pretty cool. So, since you were a waitress, tell everybody out there listening about tips. What was your tip you used to get?
Strawberry lemonade.
Strawberry lemonade. My gosh, you must have done really good to get that tip.
And sometimes I get a half baked cookie with some vanilla ice cream and chocolate syrup on top of it, and I get the strawberry lemonade to go with the half baked cookie.
Now, I got to say that I would be excited about that kind of ice cream and cookie on top. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to ask you one more thing before we let you go today, Lindsay, and talk to Mom. Tell us out there listening, who do you love?
I love my best friend because I saw her in Auburn this weekend, and we went out to dinner, and I went over to my sister's friend's house to learn how to skateboard on Xbox, and then I played on the Wii, and then we went to my sister's favorite Mexican restaurant, and I had to stay with my sister in her apartment with her friends, and my dad came in to join us for Mexican, and we went to the lake, and I had to get dropped down with my mom, and so I can get ready for school.
But he asked you, who do you love?
My best friend.
Okay.
Your best friend. Well, that's pretty cool that you think that much of your friend. What do you think? Do you love Mom?
I do.
See, now that's so sweet. Everybody out there listening.
And it is Jesus.
Hey, now that's number one in my book. I promise you. You will have a lot of fans out there saying that. So I thank you very much for coming and talk to me today. And I'm going to talk to Mom and ask her a few questions. Is that okay with you?
It sure is, Jim.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and talking to us.
You're welcome.
All right.
I love you.
Love you.
And make sure to tell Timber that I want to see her at hunting.
Sure will. I'll make sure she knows that.
Cool.
See you later.
Bye, Jim.
Bye. See, isn't it so much fun to have a kid like that?
Oh, it is. Oh, life is good.
That's something special there. Okay, for you out there listening, we're bringing in Mom now to tell the rest of the story. What we want to learn about is teach us about Lindsay. What do we need to know? Like, what kind of person is she? What is it like living with her?
Oh, Lindsay is a sheer blessing. I mean, certainly have challenge just like you would with any other typical child, but she is a blessing to be around. She is always happy. She's a ray of sunshine. She's always in a good mood. She always sees the positive of things. She's always eager to do things. She doesn't talk back. She tells me she loves me every day, and she's a teenager.
Wow, that's we wish all teenagers acted that way. No talking back and telling your mom you love them. I think that's a good story in itself. Tell us for those that are listening, we kind of want to put the story together and learn about you and learn about Lindsay and just the whole thing. So tell us in the beginning of this thing, when you were a young parent and finding out that this was going to happen, that you were going to have a special child, what was the thoughts that went through your head?
So we chose ahead of time to find out. We went and we had an amniocentesis. It was my idea. My doctor didn't push it. Actually asked me what I was going to do with the information, and I told him I wanted to be prepared. And we got that call. And so I was at work, and I said, let me call you back. So I called back the genetics office, and they shared with me that I was having a child with trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome. And we were given the option of whether we wanted to terminate the pregnancy. We had 2 weeks to decide. Well, of course, it took me 2 seconds to say no, and my husband was also on board, so that was not an issue. But certainly went through the grieving process like anybody would for that typical child that you had dreamed and hoped for. But during that grieving process, I was able to get things lined up for her. I knew that she would need early intervention services. I knew that she could go to a regular daycare, but a daycare that took special needs kids and had employees working with special needs kids would be a better opportunity for her. So we already had her in a special needs daycare. I already had over 50% of the kids with Down syndrome have heart defects. I already had her surgeon lined up, deciding whether we could stay locally or if we were going to have to travel to Massachusetts to do that. And we had the early intervention services lined up for her before she was even born.
Wow. So you really thought yourself through that process and kind of got yourself ahead of things. And that kind of leads me to the next question that I'm sure a lot of people would like to know is if there is a piece of advice you would give somebody out there, say I'm a parent, a grandparent, somebody that's fixing to have a special child enter into their world. And I know you said you showed us and shared with us a plan you had, but a piece of advice you may give them.
I would definitely say talk to other parents of, if you find out what your child's special need is, whether it's a genetic disorder like a Down syndrome, or if you have spina bifida or something like that, talk to other parents who have already walked in those shoes, and get advice from them. I certainly would not have changed anything that we did. At this point, that I feel like we did our homework. We were able to do the research. It was a blessing for our family to find out ahead of time. There are other people that wouldn't have worked. They just as soon wait and find out. Now, we didn't know the sex of our child, but I certainly knew she had Down syndrome. I didn't care about the sex, but I did want to know if we had to prepare for special needs. And that worked for us because once she came, we hit the ground running. So we had already done all the homework and, as I said, the grieving process that most people go through.
Well, and that's a pretty good piece of advice for people to know and understand that there is going to be a process that you go through. So you it almost would, in a sense, would help knowing that you're about to go through that, because anytime you could have some type of, traumatic moment in your life, or not even traumatic, but a thing that would change your world, let's say, you really want to know to be able to prepare yourself the best you can for news like that's coming. So now that we know that, and we've kind of got your feelings and your plan and everything, tell us, since you had a plan, tell us about Lindsay growing up. What was it like to have a little child in your presence of, say, 0 to 10, 12 years old, before teenager? What was that like?
So Lindsay is the youngest, and after we had her, even before we knew about the Down syndrome, we knew we were going to stop at 2. So she has an older sister who's 21 months older than her, and as I said, we enrolled her in a special needs daycare. So it was a daycare that the employees knew they were going to be working with special needs, and the early intervention services that she received there, PT, a physical therapy and occupational therapy. And then when she turned a year old, they started providing speech therapy. And the therapists there were really good because this was my first rodeo with Down syndrome. They had seen several, and the physical therapist in particular gave great advice saying, she is 25% of your family. If you give her any more attention or do anything more for her, that means somebody else suffers. And so I've carried that with me ever her whole life. I mean, and that's for anybody in my family. Another bit of advice is to treat her like a typical child. I mean, hold the bar high for her, and have expectations for her, because nobody wants to be around a spoiled child, whether they're typical or special needs. And this also became very important with her sister. Her sister needed to see that Lindsay, even though she was special needs, she was in trouble if she didn't make her bed, or she didn't clean her room, or she didn't do her chores. Because out in the community, I would say people cut Lindsay slack, and but under our roof, we tried to treat everybody fairly and make them hold them to a certain standard.
Well, and that's pretty good in itself, that you not only treat the child equally to everybody else, but you also, I think, you help her in the long run, because she understands what the plan is, what the set of standards are, and she's just going to enjoy life so much better when she knows, what the limitations are that she can do within the home. Speaking of that, while we got that area that we're headed down here, let's unpack the question of, tell us if there were any mistakes you felt like you made, or any, I won't necessarily say that you made, maybe that you see other families make. You kind of alluded to it a little bit, having a sister. Tell us some things that you maybe would have changed, or maybe you see other families that should change with a special child.
I think that with a special needs child, they, obviously can't do a lot of the stuff that the typical kids do, especially as things get older. You can, do Sunday soccer with the other 4 and 5-year-olds, but when it starts getting 10 and 12, you're not really wanted on I mean, it's not that you're not wanted on their team, but it's just a little bit more competitive at that age. So any opportunities for kids with special needs, or any typical opportunities that she can be a part of, I bend over backwards for it. I do like her to be around typical people, so I have her volunteering at the zoo and at our children's science museum. But I also have her involved with a lot of special needs kids from all over, not just in our community, because those are going to be her friends in the long run. Those are the people that she's going to see at Special Olympics. Those are the people that she's going to see, at hunting or Young Life. She's very active in Young Life, but it's a Young Life group for special needs kids. So just trying to make sure that you do involve them in as much as possible and get them out and about. As you can tell, she's very active and she loves outdoor things.
Oh, there's no question. Once you talk 5 minutes to her, you're going to find out she loves being outside. That's no question. Tell us about when you get her outside and when you go to all these different events you're speaking of. How do other people treat Lindsay?
She just, when you said, "How are you doing?" and she's like, "Fantastic," I think people are taken aback. I think that they enjoy being around her. I have certainly have people call me and say, "I need a little Lindsay tonight. Can we do dinner?" These are my adult friends, because they may have teenage kids that have attitudes, and Lindsay is always so positive, and so she just is, as I said, a ray of sunshine. So Lindsay's overall pretty well accepted. As she shared with you, she's been managing her volleyball, basketball, and softball team ever since 7th grade. And that came about in that we had 4 elementary schools that poured into one middle school. And she did not have the opportunities that the other kids had for the, sports and things to meet the kids from the other school. And I wanted to make sure that she was part of this middle school. So I asked that, if she could be manager, and they provided 3 sports that took the whole year, and it was very well accepted. And it got to the point that it was the other schools were looking for her on the bench, for volleyball and basketball and softball. And we were at a softball game, and the other team had given her a game ball, and they had all signed it. At the end of the game, Lindsay gets to hit a home run, and the other team had given her a softball with her name on it. So they look forward to it too.
That's the kind of stories I think that myself and everybody out there listening to know that you can get your child out there and be an inspiration to other people. They may look at her as maybe not the most talented athlete on the field, but they definitely look at her inspiration and want to know where she is and what she's doing, and it inspires them to do better for her. I feel like they want to hit those home runs and take her the ball and let her be part of it. Now that you've brought up that and being a sports person and being a manager and being involved, there was one story that I've been told and comes to mind, and I've watched the videos about, and that's her basketball team in high school letting her go out there and play, and then her ending up on ESPN and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and you name it. She's been on it all. Tell us about that experience. How did that come about? What developed out of it, and the overall attention that came from it?
So it was the playoff game for our region. The number 1 team was playing the number 4 out of 4, and we were number 4. So we were getting beat. Our team was getting beat pretty handily. And her coach had contacted me earlier that day and says, I want Lindsay to wear a uniform. It's the last game. She's a senior. I just want her to wear a uniform. And he gave her a uniform that has 00, which is her favorite number. And with 90 seconds left to go, he says, I want to put you in the game. Well, I was up in the stands. I didn't know. All of a sudden, I saw her on the floor doing push-ups. And I said, what is going on? And someone said, well, Lindsay's getting ready to go in the game. And so sure enough, she went into the game, and the other team was so supportive and actually was throwing the ball in, supposedly to their player, but Lindsay would, quote, steal it. And she made baskets, and she ended up making 12 baskets and I think 5 or 6 steals. And but it was amazing how supportive the other team was, to allow the last 90 seconds of the playoff games. Obviously they were moving on and we were not, but how supportive and stuff that they were. But apparently someone took a video and they sent it to the local news station. And then the next thing I know, it's on ESPN. There was a little story about it, a little inspirational story. So it was a really great experience, and she is very proud of it. But again, it's another day in the life of Lindsay.
That sounds like a big day in the life for most of the world. I mean, ESPN, to put it out there, that's millions of people. So what was the attention like? Was it something? I know you guys don't ever ask for anything like that. You never knew it was coming. It just happened. What was the attention like?
Not a big social media person, so of course I was kind of one of the last people to know, but people know that I don't do social media, so certainly my phone was blowing up, and her sister was very proud, and all her college friends were texting her and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so Lindsay likes being getting that attention, but it was not something that she talks about every day per se, but she certainly likes the attention, and I'm not sure she completely understands being on ESPN as national versus just the local news.
Yeah, but that's something. It's just like what you brought up earlier about her being an inspiration to the local teams, and they get to see her come in and give her a ball, a softball, a volleyball, all signed by the other teams. That right there, when it went out to the nation in an ESPN type format, there's so many people that you would never know that she touched, and they looked at it, and there may be kids after her that get to play on their teams just for that very reason, because they got to see other kids do that. So I think that is a great opportunity for her to be able to get that limelight, because as everybody can see and hear from listening to her, how great of a person that she is, and an inspiration. So that being all said, tell me, if you were a parent, piece of advice again, if you were a parent out there listening and getting ready to try to get your special child involved in some things, would you recommend them putting their special child into sports?
You know what? You got to find their interest. I think sometimes parents want their kids involved in something, but their kid has no interest in it. It was very easy to put her in sports because she absolutely loves sports. I mean, I ask her questions about sports, and then she gives me the answer, and I fact checked, and she's right. So it's something that she enjoyed. She went after school every day. I mean, it would be long days. She would travel to the games, and she would miss opportunities. She would miss college football games and things like that, because it was a commitment. I mean, if we're not going to cherry pick and decide, oh, we're not going to go to that volleyball tournament because it's the weekend of a big football game. This is a commitment, and so we'd forego the football game to be on the team. So I would say it was, and that was our choice too, because that's how I want to raise my child. If you make a commitment, you got to stick with that commitment. So figure out what your kid enjoys. It could be dance, it could be cheer, it could be volleyball and basketball and softball were good in that there were several players on the team. And so she could kind of keep a scorebook, and she could keep statistics and write little comments about the players and how they did. So
you would say that the biggest thing then is to get them involved, but necessarily find their place for being involved. If they're a sports person, then you're thinking more the manager type thing. If they're not a sports person, maybe there's other programs within their community, but more so you're saying get them involved in something because that helps them out.
Absolutely, because it develops their brain, it challenges them, it gets them around their peers, it gets them out of their comfort zone. It's, they don't need to be at home by themselves. Because it's not like they've got a super busy social life with friends, but there are certainly a lot of opportunities out there for kids with special needs, whether it be hunting or baseball or basketball, that kind of thing.
So tell us, now that we've covered a lot of different topics with us, tell us what our goals are for Lindsay going forward.
So we would, of course, love for her to be able to live on her own and hold a job. At this point, she has graduated from high school. She is going to a post-secondary program where she is learning community-based instruction. She's going out to restaurants. She's ordering her own food. She's paying with a debit card. She's learning how to tip. We're working on trying to make sure we don't over-order things. She's also going out in the community and doing some volunteer work. And then, she has some jobs that she did that she was talking to you about when she worked at the local restaurants, and she actually worked at an assisted living and helped the activities coordinator.
Wow. So she is having a full day of things and a full experience in life. You've treated her no different. I mean, that's obviously a clear message here to everybody that's out there. She's got a sister, and older, you say, by, what was it, 12 months, 18 months?
21 months.
21 months, and there's no difference in the way that either of them are treated. You've put them out there, let them work. You've taught them life skills. You've sent them on their way to do the best they can, within life. And I think that's a amazing thing for a parent in itself. How, typically at this point in the podcast, we like to ask a funny story or a crazy story or something within a child's life. We have found out that Lindsay loves to dress the part. Tell us about, when we go to sporting events, how Lindsay loves to dress the part. I think that's something people would love to know.
Well, Lindsay loves to dress the part no matter what the event. She was included, she had to apply for, but she got into a leadership forum for kids with disabilities, and they had a talent show. And of course, her talent was to sing one of the songs from The Greatest Showman. And so she had the ringmaster outfit all picked out by herself. She made it at home. She got a hat. She spray painted it. She bought a jacket with a red interior. So she was the only one in the talent show. I mean, there were several people in the talent show, but she's the only one who dressed the part. But one of the things that came to mind is big football game. Alabama was playing LSU, big rival at Alabama. Well, Lindsay is for Auburn. And if you tell her Roll Tide, she will sneeze because she says she's allergic to Alabama. So she has this opportunity to go with me to the Alabama game. And, it's a big deal. Those tickets are hard to come by. And her dad said, look, you cannot wear orange and blue. You cannot pull for Auburn, at this game. This is the Alabama LSU game. So we're getting ready to leave for the game. And she walks out of her room in purple and gold.
Oh, my goodness. That's pretty unique. There's a lot of people out there that would love to be able to know that there's folks that just enjoy life no matter what it is. I would love to dress the part a lot of times, but society would think we're silly if we showed up and had all of our different outfits on. But I just love it that these type of children, special Downs children, they see the love in everything. They enjoy every moment. They show us what life should be like. they're just genuinely happy. I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah, I think the key is that they don't have an agenda. I mean, my daughter's smart enough that she knows when it's Christmas time, she butters up to us for sure. But they don't. They are genuinely happy, and they don't have any agenda, if you will. For the most part, life is good, and she is happy, genuinely happy. 95% of the time. She actually asked me for her birthday to get labs drawn because we have identified this special numbing cream that works. We used to have 5 people hold her down to get lab work drawn. And because kids with Down syndrome do have, thyroid issues or intestinal issues or they have to have lab work at least annually. And it used to take 5 people. And then I found this cream, and now she's asking for labs for her birthday. So.
All right. Now we're going to try to wrap all this thing up with the one last question that we love to have here on the show. And maybe we call it our signature question, I guess. When we read the book of life of Lindsay, what do you hope that it reads when everybody gets to read that thing? What do you hope that they read?
I hope that they see that having a child with Down syndrome is a huge blessing in life, and what joy she has brought to our family and to others, and the doors that she has opened to us that I would have never walked through without having a special needs child. It's just been an amazing journey, and it's been great. I really wouldn't again change anything that we've done or anything about her. But of course, we've got challenges with her, just like we would with a typical child. The challenges are a little bit different, but she is a huge blessing in our life, and I believe other people's lives.
Well, that's a pretty special story. We've enjoyed a lot of getting to know Lindsay today, a lot of getting to know you and telling her story, and we appreciate all your time and all the great things you're doing with her, and we look forward to hearing stories in the future.
Well, thanks for having us.
All right, we'll talk to you later.